bit like what you guys, when you got off from each other, you were trying to find each other. And I compared a little bit to like traffic. And at least you were trying to avoid each other, and you weren't both going right through the intersection at the same time. So it's good. And then finally you just took charge and went, and you found me. So sometimes you just have to do that in a concert. This is such a great piece for students to work on. Are there many teachers here in the audience? No? Not? I mean, okay. Not that many, though. Mostly parents, looks like. Okay. Anyway, this is such a great piece to work on as a student. First of all, it's so fun to play. I think it's so satisfying to play. And as is a lot of Kreisler, but I think the way he wrote this, it actually sounds even more impressive than it is difficult, and that's always a good thing. So we want to really look impressive. But it works, it gives us a chance to work on so many fundamentals. And so right off the bat, in the Praeludium section, he writes this very grand, you could call it a sort of a melody, it's certainly a line, very majestic, right? Gives us a chance to really get great sound out of the violin. And most violinists, Raymond included, can sense that he doesn't want to play it right like this. He wants to really play with a very meaty sound. And even though this is just kind of a simple détaché, quarter notes, up bow, down bow, if things aren't quite working right, then it doesn't sound great, right? I'm sure you can feel certain notes are easier than other notes, right? The first note, for instance, is not so difficult. It's usually the fourth fingers. It's usually when there's a shift and a string crossing, something like that. And that's when things start to go wrong a little bit. Okay. So let's start again at the beginning. Better than the first time. You're kind of self-correcting. This is the best way. The reason I think your sound is more consistent now, and what happened was you found that sort of that sweet spot. Do you play any sports?
Yeah.
What sports do you play?
Tennis and volleyball.
Oh, tennis is perfect because you have that sweet spot of the racket, right, where you want to hit it, and that feeling of hitting it out near the frame is very similar, isn't it? It's kind of similar to the feeling of this, when it doesn't go right? And when you get it right, it feels like you can go right through the violin. You can just relax and get this big sound, right? So what you did just now was you were staying right in the sweet spot, your contact point, okay? Your contact point here was not moving around too much. You found a good contact point, and has your teacher talked to you about playing with a straight bow?
Yeah.
Probably in and out, right? And believe me, my old teachers still tell me, still ask me about that. But the reason is to keep the bow here and with a consistent contact point. And when we don't go out on the down bow, then the bow is going to come down here towards the fingerboard. Okay? And that was generally what was happening with you. On your up bows, you were doing in very well. And then sometimes on your down bows, you would pull back with your arm. Like this. And your bow would kind of come down to the fingerboard. Okay? Now, actually for me, the main reason this is happening has to do with how you're holding your violin. And you're holding your violin quite far over this way, to your right. Okay? And you can see, if I hold my violin over here to my right, then my bow arm has to adjust, right? Our arms have to go together. The further over to the right you are, look at what happens to my bow arm. I have to bend more and more, right? Like this. My upper arm has to go further behind me. And if you're trying to get power into a spot right here, let's say your contact point is here in the air, right? We're trying to get power into that, then this position is really not going to work, right? It would, and again, to go back to tennis, it would be like if you were trying to hit with your arm way back here, right, with your upper arm. You wouldn't get any power if you were hitting, right? You want to be out here extended, right? So hold your violin a little bit to the left, okay? And let's try it just actually without piano, just a little slow. That's great, okay? And just for your sake, actually, try this. Put your bow on the string for the first note, and turn your violin, rotate it to the right a little bit, okay? You see how just a little bit changes everything so much, right? Your angle. Okay? We're not even talking about 6 inches or something. Really, you turn it, you move your scroll 3 inches in either direction, and it really changes the angle of the bow arm. So start at the beginning and note by note. And try to keep that consistent contact point and really full sound on every note. Okay, once more. And start that first note. You started, your contact point was here, is good. By the end of the note, you were down here. Okay. Go out. That's good. Keep going. Keep your violin over here. Okay, so that your elbow doesn't have to come here. I'm just going to move your arm. Your elbow doesn't have to come back here. Okay. This is not what you want to be doing, because then what happens is at the frog on the E string, we have to play like this. We have to scrunch our arm up. Okay? We want to be open, nice and open. Okay. That first note again. You're down by the fingerboard after you're by the tip. Consistent like that is, instead of the way our arm works is all in circles. Okay? So we move in arcs like this. This is very natural. Also with this, it's very natural to do this. Your arm was doing a little bit of this, just a little bit. But actually with the bow on the string, we need to move the bow in a straight line, right? On that plane. We don't want the bow to be going like this, and we don't want it to be going like this. So follow your bow. Don't follow your arm, but put your bow on the string again. Okay, good. Now I want you to follow. Imagine this track. This is on a track. Okay, and the track extends out to here. Okay, now do slowly that bow. Yes, you see how out it is? That's why we go out. Do it good, and do it again. And why don't you show them? Turn right. Okay, so it's going to go out to here. And look where your bow was. It was right there, right? Okay, and the same on the up bow. Follow that track. You can even think of a little tube here. That's great. And look, your bow stayed right there, right? So think about that idea of following the line of your bow. Once more. Actually, let's go on a little bit here. Like. Your hand is going to come out here, right? What happens is that your upper arm, as you come to the tip, watch my upper arm. It's going back, it's not going back, right? And then it goes forward a little bit, right? If you don't go forward, we're going back this way. And when you're in this position, not in this position, that's also when you're going to have that power into the string. Okay? And you're getting it now. Now, what I hear is your great sound, which you were getting half of the time before. You were getting your great sound. Then the other half of the time, it was your okay sound. Now you're really getting it on every note. Okay? Let's try it with piano now. I won't stop. Oh, I'll mention one more thing. As I said, a lot of the fourth fingers you weren't vibrating. I want you to really think about vibrating all of those fourth fingers. Consistent your sound is. Okay? How about from? Okay, good. And now I'm going to go one step further. Can you vibrate every note? Okay, you have time actually to do it. What happens is you have such a great sound on most of the notes. It's full, and it's very vibrant. Okay? You're making it ring with your vibrato. And then every once in a while there'll be this. And the sound becomes very pale. Okay? Can you sing every note? Okay, once more from. That one. Yeah, that one, right? I know it's hardest after a shift like that. Take your time on it. I hesitate to even say this because you're doing so amazing with your bow, but just keep thinking about this idea of violin to your left just a little bit, okay? You're going to feel freer with your bow arm. You're actually doing all of these great things despite being a little bit cramped here, especially on the E string of the frog. So as you move to the left, you'll feel more open. Okay? Now, the next section, this middle section of the opening, until now we've had very steady rhythm, right? Which kind of has given it a little bit of a march quality and something. It's inevitable. Right? It's not fast, but it just constantly moves. Suddenly, we hit this E minor chord, and the piano stops its motion. Right? He just holds this beautiful atmosphere, this color, the E minor, and you are going around that. You're kind of improvising around this. So these 16th notes can be much freer. Okay? Don't play them all equally as 16th notes. Imagine you're just making it up. Do you improvise at all? You do? Okay, so you know what it feels like then. Okay, let's go right on the last bar before the. most music shouldn't make us feel like, oh, we've heard this 1,000 times, and here we are hearing it again. It should really feel like you're making it up. But then there are certain music that is more improvisatory. It really is improvising. And I'll bet Kreisler, who was notorious, famous for playing things differently, making things up, little tiny differences every concert. And I'll bet that he played little, even different notes and harmonies every once in a while in the concert. Okay, but now when we get here, how do these chords here at the Andante, can you play these chords for me? And then, okay, compared to where we began at the beginning. Can you play those chords for me? Okay, so what's the difference okay. What is the difference in that feeling?
The second part has a minor.
Yeah, right. It's more open at the beginning, right? It's not quite as minor. It is essentially minor. But, and not just that, how about can you play once more for him? The first chord and then the first chord in the middle section. Right, very colorful chord, right? We used that word atmosphere before. Now, can you play your line as an improvisation around that color, that atmosphere? Can you start right there? Okay, it's going good. It's going in a good direction. I think it can be hazier, less clear, certainly softer. It's interesting, there's no dynamic. Kreisler actually was not very specific at all in his writing. But it is inevitably, I think, it is probably more like piano, and a different color. It's a little softer. It's not as clear, but a little bit hazier, okay, foggier. Try that. Espressivo. Go on from here. And from here, you vibrated almost no notes. Make them even a little bit more espressivo than the whole opening section. Okay, with your left hand. But if you started lower, as you did just now, then this comes out more. Okay? Just a word about, because we're going to have to stop, unfortunately, the Allegro, the Allegro part. The Allegro uses, it's such a great tool for practicing these various bow strokes. And we have this very light spiccato with string crossings. It's so difficult. But this is something you were really doing on the string at the tip. In the upper half, you should really practice. Try to do it in the lower half, middle to lower half, and get the bow to spring a little bit. Okay, drive the bow into the string. Play basketball at all?
Sometimes.
Okay, you know how to dribble a basketball, right? Okay, you dribble a basketball. By how? What's the first thing? Yeah, and what do you do? Yeah, and what did you just do? To get it to go down? You what? You pushed it, right. And when you push it, it'll come back to you, right? If you don't push it, if you just drop it, it's not going to do anything. It'll go there and it won't come back up to your hand. It's the same with the bow. If you don't push it, if you just try to, then it just won't bounce, right? Okay, I won't ask you to do that, but that idea, you should practice. Have you practiced spiccato before in other pieces? Okay, and it's easiest to do on one note, or you can like do scales and get used to that first, and then try it with these string processes. Okay, same with this. Okay, but this is a little bit heavier spiccato, down really near the frog. And then this is the lightest of all, and that will be in the middle, just a little bit above the middle. Okay, so explore those bow strings. Okay, I'm sorry we don't have more time.